Hat, sunglasses, Pepsi, notes, sources, thick skin, check. You already know. Let's go. Welcome to Golden Blue today, everybody. This is a college football channel. So if you like college football, hit the like and subscribe button. It's that simple. Also, send gear to represent your team and be a part of my background forever. All you have to do is send it to P.O. Box 360, Liberty, South Carolina 29657. And don't forget to check out our Patreon page. We have a lot of great perks over there. The perk that people seem to enjoy the most, of course, is the score prediction contest where we award $20 every single week to whoever gets closest to the actual score of the game that I pick. We also did a championship week. I will award $25 to that winner. And right now is the best time to join Patreon because we are going to do the bowl prediction contest. First place prize will win $50. Second place prize is an autographed golden blued flat bill hat. And the third place prize is a shout out. And the more Patreons we get, the higher we can bump up the prize. So if we get up to $300 worth of Patreon pledges, we will bump up the prize to $75. If we get up to $400 worth of Patreon pledges, we'll bump the prize up to $100, and so on and so forth. So there's even an incentive for current Patreon members to encourage other people to join Patreon. That way the prize goes even higher. I'll leave the link to the Patreon page in the description of this video. No, I promise you guys, I promise, I am not the type of YouTuber that likes to go around screaming, the sky is falling, the sky is falling, all is lost at West Virginia, there's no hope. I don't like doing that, but I'm not liking what I'm seeing at West Virginia either. We did not have a good season this past year. 5-7 is not good. And in an interview, Gordon Gee said that he was encouraged by the 5-7 because the Big 12 was competitive. Encouraged? Dude, no. We didn't even get to a bowl. How can you be encouraged by that? How can you be encouraged by not even getting to a bowl in year 4? If this was year 1 back in 2019, which we went 5-7 back then fine, sure, there's a lot of built-in excuses. But 5-7 in year 4? No, that's not encouraging at all. It's not time to take pride. I think those were the words, actually. He said, I take pride in the 5-7 record West Virginia had in 2022 because of how competitive the Big 12 was in 2022. That's even worse. Taking pride? Taking pride? Are you serious? That makes absolutely no sense. So now the biggest question for West Virginia fans is, what is the 2023 team going to look like? And how much of a step forward will we take? We have to take a step forward in 2023. Neal Brown is the coach, at least to start the season. Not sure about ending the season. But man, 5-7, and he's still the head coach. Remember last year during the preseason, I said, I'll be okay with Neal Brown staying if we go 7-5. And that's if we see major improvements on the offense. That was my limit. Well, we didn't even get to my limit. We went 5-7. We did worse than last year. The big problems in West Virginia. And we already heard about all the problems with Shane Lyons, how he's a snake in the grass, and he absolutely bashed West Virginia in an interview after we fired Shane Lyons, and he just acted like a straight-up child. So maybe that does help. But the bottom line is that excuse is out of the window. It is gone. It is history. Now, players that have hit the transfer portal, of course, Mumu bin Wanhad. I was high on this guy. I know he didn't get much playing time, but I thought he could be a force on the defense. Also, Reese Smith, a productive wide receiver, 19 receptions for 205 yards and 1 touchdown this year. Charles Woods, our cornerback, he entered the transfer portal and actually found a home at SMU. He only had 7 tackles this year. He was injury prone. And then, of course, JT Daniels entered the transfer portal. He was 200 for 327. That's 61.2%. Threw for 2,107 yards, 13 touchdowns, and 9 interceptions. JT Daniels is still a good quarterback. He just was not a good fit at West Virginia. What about people that are leaving, declaring from the NFL draft? 2 big-time wide receivers. Bryce Ford-Wheaton, who had 62 receptions for 675 yards and 7 touchdowns. And then Sam James declared for the NFL draft. Now, I understand Bryce Ford-Wheaton, but I think Sam James should have stayed for at least 1 more year. He had 46 receptions, more yardage, 745 yards, and 6 touchdowns, but he also had a lot of drop balls. I don't think that Sam James is ready for the NFL. But hey, maybe he's just like, I don't want to be around this train wreck anymore. I think I have a chance. I think there's like 8 rounds. Anyways, even if he was the very last pick in the NFL draft, he doesn't care. He wants to get out of West Virginia. That's a big hit on West Virginia. All these other people that are entering the transfer portal, not that big of a hit. And I know Charles Woods was a good cornerback for us, but he had a lot of injuries. He did not contribute to this year. But losing Bryce Ford-Wheaton and Sam James, that's a lot of production on the offense. So West Virginia needs to get some wide receivers. and hopefully Caden Prather can take an even bigger step forward this year. I think that guy is a superstar in the making. One bright spot about West Virginia right now is all the recruits are firm. They're actually happy that Neal Brown is staying at West Virginia. Remember, Neal Brown is the one that's recruiting these new recruits. In West Virginia right now, they're 27th in the nation in the 2023 recruiting class rankings. Neal Brown does recruit above average as far as how West Virginia does in the recruiting classes. So I will give that to him, but that has to transfer over to the field. And it hasn't so far. Even though he recruits at a decent level for West Virginia, it hasn't translated onto the football field. And that's the biggest problem. Now, for 2023, among all the other excuses that will be eliminated, in 2023, we will have 3 of our all-time top 25 recruits when it comes to star rankings. We'll have the 4-star Wyatt Millam, we'll have the 4-star Jacoby Spells, and of course the new incoming 4-star Rodney Gallagher. All 3 of those players are top 25 all-time as far as star rankings for West Virginia recruiting. So West Virginia will have talent for 2023. We're also looking into the transfer portal. One name that's popped out is Armani Gaynor out of Florida State. Last year he had 17 tackles, 1 sack, 1.5 tackles for loss. And he would be a big help to West Virginia, especially for that linebacker core, because that was a weakness for West Virginia. West Virginia's biggest weaknesses, of course, was the defense, but specifically linebackers and safeties. The middle of the field for West Virginia on defense was wide open. Got to give credit to our defensive line. They got pressure. They helped with ball control whenever it comes to the run game. But across the middle of the field, that was wide open. Our safeties and our linebackers were too small, and that's because last year in preseason, we went out and got small dudes. And I was high on Marcus Floyd and Jasir Cox because they had a lot of accolades coming out of their schools, but the problem is their schools was in the FCS. They had FCS size and FCS speed, and it just didn't translate over to the Power 5 level. We'll see if they can take a step forward this year. I just don't like the size that we have on defense, and we saw during the regular season that size does matter. Speed does matter. They were tearing West Virginia up in the middle of the field. Our cornerbacks actually did a decent job, but every time those receivers broke to the middle where the linebackers and the safeties had to help, boom, wide open every time. And I think we need to change a lot on defense. A lot. Not just some players, but also some coaches. In fact, what I'm hearing is one of the stipulations for Neal Brown staying at West Virginia is getting rid of some defensive coaches. Jordan Leslie has no business being the defensive coordinator. We need to do our best, our very, very best, to try and go and get Tony Gibson from NC State. Whatever we have to do to get him over at West Virginia as the new defensive coordinator, that's what we need to do. He has done wonders over there at NC State, and Jordan Leslie is a terrible defensive coordinator. Ever since he took over, we went from elite status as far as scoring defense down to like the 40s and 50s in 2021. Then into the 100s this past year. Jordan Leslie is not getting the job done. It's time to move on from him. Tony Gibson would be a perfect candidate for the defensive side of the ball. What about the offensive side of the ball? Well, hopefully we'll transition into the offense that West Virginia has always had success with. I've already done the historical analysis. 1988, undefeated, went to the national championship. It was a spread RPO offense run by Major Harris. 1993, undefeated season. 2-quarterback system, Jake Kelchner and Darren Studstill, but also spread RPO type of offense. Then, of course, in the 2000s, under Rich Rod, Pat White, spread RPO offense. And then finally, the most successful offense that Daniel Hargison had was 2016 with the 10-win season, and that was Skylar Howard with the spread RPO offense. So I'm hoping West Virginia gets back to that. And we have a couple of quarterbacks that are perfect for that. Not just Garrett Green, but Nico Markule would also fit the mold for that. He's not as good with his legs as Garrett Green, but he's better than JT Daniels. JT Daniels, I wish him nothing but the best. West Virginia was just a bad fit. So let's look at their schedule for 2023, and I'm going to give you my initial reaction to this schedule, knowing what I know about the team. And in the offseason, things may change depending on if we lose more players to the portal that could hurt the team or gain some players that could help the team. We have a rough schedule. This is our tough year in the Big 12. Yeah, we went 5-7 this past year, and it was our easy year in the Big 12. So here's what our schedule looks like. Now the Big 12 games, they're not nailed down yet, but we have a roundabout estimation as to when they're going to be. All right, so first at Penn State, that's going to be a loss, and it could be a big time loss. I think Penn State's going to be a good team. That's on the road. I just hope West Virginia's competitive in that game, but I'm counting that as a loss. Then we get FCS Duquesne. Of course, that's a gimme game. Then we get Pitt at home. I don't think Pitt's going to be very good either. They lost Keaton Slovis in the transfer portal. Why he transferred, I have no idea. It's going to be in Morgantown. I think West Virginia gets the revenge game. After that, at Kansas, I think we lose again on the road to Kansas. They're going to be good again. We come back home to Texas Tech. I'm giving West Virginia the win, but that could be a loss. I'm trying to give West Virginia the benefit of the doubt. After that, at TCU, that's a loss. Then we get Oklahoma State at home. That's going to be a win. I think Oklahoma State's going to be even worse. At Baylor, that's a loss. Iowa State at home, I think we can win that game. At Kansas State, that's a loss. And then Texas at home. Talk about giving West Virginia the benefit of the doubt. For argument's sake, let's just say West Virginia somehow pulls off a miracle and beats Texas at home. And then finally at Oklahoma, that's a loss. Even with me giving West Virginia the benefit of the doubt, that's still just 6-6. That's not good enough in year 5. What excuses are we going to hear next year? I take pride in that 6-6 record in 2023 because the Big 12 was competitive. Gordon Gee, do you not remember how good West Virginia used to be? Like, to me, it seems like everybody's just forgotten, and 6-6 getting to a bowl, that's a good year. No, it's not. Even as bad of a coach as Dana Holgorsen was, he did have a 10-win season at West Virginia. It is doable, even with a subpar head coach. I'm backing out West Virginia. Neal Brown is the head coach, so I have no other choice. I'm not going to bash him anymore, but if he doesn't get the job done, he's got to go. So y'all let me know in the comments section, what's your reaction on Gordon Gee saying, I take pride in the 5-7 record for 2022? I think it's crazy. The second thing is, do you think West Virginia will be better in 2023? That's all I got for this show. Like and subscribe if you haven't already, and I'll see you on my next show.